the cameras flashed, the crowd froze. And, well, just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession. From the penthouse to the pavement, a music empire crumbles into the concrete of a New Jersey prison yard. Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
We are taking you on a really massive deep dive today into a big stack of breaking sources. We've pulled from TMZ, E! News, the Mary Sue official Federal Bureau of Prisons manuals, and some extensive trial records.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
It really is. And we're using all of that to investigate this totally surreal headline, which is that Sean Diddy Combs was reportedly placed in solitary confinement after a federal prison fight.
Which is just wild.
Right. So our mission today is to unpack exactly how a man of his status ended up in a brawl, what the mechanical consequences are for his actual sentence, and, just those bizarre cultural shockwaves that put him behind bars in the first place.
Because the contrast here is just staggering to me. I mean, we are talking about Sean Diddy Combs. This is a guy who was once a billionaire music mogul, like the ultimate VIP.
Yeah, absolutely untouchable.
Exactly. A man whose entire brand was built on being untouchable. And right now, he has literally been tossed into the hole after throwing down in a fistfight.
It's hard to even picture.
It is. Just to put this in perspective for you listening, weeks ago, the same man finalized an off-market deal selling his Miami Star Island estate for $55 million.
Wow.
He walked away with a $20 million profit. And today, he is sitting in a concrete box in New Jersey.
It's a total institutional reset of his reality. So just to set the scene for you, Combs is currently serving a 50-month sentence at FCI Fort Dix, which is a low-security federal prison in New Jersey.
Right.
And his conviction stems from that highly publicized 2025 trial for transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, up until this week, he was actually living with relative freedom.
I think I saw a video of that online.
Yeah, footage even surfaced recently showing him taking these casual walks out in the low-security yard, mingling and, moving fairly freely within the facility perimeters.
Right, but according to TMZ sources, that freedom just vanished the second another inmate verbally dissed him, which is where my mind just starts, honestly.
Yeah.
Because normally a 58-year-old man in federal prison, especially a famous one, might just put his head down, ignore the insult, and, I don't know, walk away.
You'd think so.
But he didn't. He escalated it. TMZ says a scuffle broke out, punches were thrown, and sources claim Diddy actually held his own before prison staff swarmed in, broke it up, and immediately transferred him to solitary confinement as a disciplinary measure.
Just threw him right in.
Yeah, it's like he's still trying to protect his brand, but the boardroom is literally a prison yard now.
Yeah.
But wait, I've seen movies where solitary means total darkness and madness. Is the SHU actually like that, or is it just a smaller room where he reads paperbacks all day? And honestly, is this just for punishment, or are they secretly hiding him because a billionaire is a massive target for his own protection?
That's a great question. Let's translate what the official Federal Bureau of Prisons, or the BOP manual, actually dictates here. Because the reality is far more bureaucratic than the movies, but arguably just as crushing.
Okay, lay it on me.
So the manual splits the Special Housing Unit, the SHU, into two different buckets. One bucket is administrative detention. That is for your own protection, say, if you're a high-profile target or a victim of an assault.
Right, that makes sense.
But the other bucket is disciplinary segregation.
Yeah.
That is pure punishment. And because he actively engaged in throwing punches, he is sitting squarely in that punishment bucket.
Oof. Did the BOP say anything officially?
They officially declined to comment on the specific incident, citing their standard privacy and security protocols. But they confirmed physical altercations are top-tier violations.
So what does the punishment bucket actually look like for him? Because I can't imagine they care that he used to host the Met Gala.
Oh, they do not care in the slightest. The sensory deprivation is intensely calculated. According to the BOP's program statement, his life is now stripped down to the absolute minimum.
How minimal are we talking?
Like out-of-cell exercise is capped at just 5 hours a week, and usually that happens in a highly controlled, solitary cage.
That sounds miserable.
It is. Personal property is almost non-existent. The manual strictly limits inmates to basic hygiene items, 1 newspaper, and exactly 5 paperback books.
Wait, exactly 5. Why 5? That seems so oddly specific.
Yeah, it's fundamentally designed to break down autonomy while maintaining security. Anything more than 5 books is considered excess property, which inmates could theoretically use to hide contraband or start a fire.
Wow, I never thought of that.
Right. Psychologically, it means you don't get to curate a library or have choices. You get the bare minimum to stave off complete insanity. And that's also why the manual mandates daily medical visits and weekly mental health checks by psychology staff.
Because it messes with your head so much.
Exactly. The suicide rates and psychological deterioration in the SHU are astronomically high compared to the general population. So the government has to rigorously document that they are checking on his mental state.
That is just, I mean, that's 163 hours a week locked inside a tiny room.
Yeah.
The psychological toll of that, especially for a guy whose entire life was powered by external validation and being seen, it has to be completely suffocating.
Oh, absolutely.
But, you know, this fight isn't his first rule-breaking rodeo behind bars, and wait till you hear what this means for his release date.
Yeah, this is where we really have to look at the psychology behind that prison yard punch. Like, why would a 58-year-old mogul risk those 163 hours in isolation over a verbal insult?
Right, why not just let it go?
We have to look at the Puff Daddy myth. Longtime music industry insiders have noted that throughout his entire career, Combs believed every single headline was an opportunity.
Oh, for sure. All press is good press.
Exactly. He was never afraid of controversy. His ultimate terror was simply being forgotten or looking weak. Backing down from a fight would destroy this larger-than-life myth he spent decades building.
That makes total sense. If you've spent 30 years building this untouchable persona, a story leaking to TMZ that you back down from a fight in prison, that's a brand disaster in your own mind.
Yeah, it shatters the illusion.
But a headline suggesting you stood your ground and held your own, that aligns perfectly with the legend he always wanted people to believe.
Exactly. But the issue is, the federal government is not a PR firm. The BOP operates on rigid, unbending protocols, not celebrity narratives. And as you mentioned, this is part of a broader pattern of him testing boundaries.
Oh, yeah. Didn't reports say he was trying to make his own alcohol?
Yeah, reports that surfaced late last year indicated he was previously accused of distilling prison moonshine right in his cell.
Okay, if you are listening to this on your commute right now, just picture it. A guy who used to sip $1,000 champagne on mega yachts is allegedly hiding toilet wine in a New Jersey federal prison cell.
It's absurd.
You literally can't make this up. It sounds like a rejected subplot from a bad comedy movie.
It is deeply surreal. He was also accused of attempting to make unauthorized three-way phone calls, which, the BOP monitors relentlessly.
Of course they do.
And while his legal team denied those specific allegations, it paints a very clear picture of an inmate who simply cannot adapt to a total loss of control.
He's just constantly trying to hack a system that cannot be hacked.
Exactly. And here is the mechanical reality of why this current fistfight is so critical. The real cost isn't just sitting in the SHU. Diddy was originally scheduled for release in February 2028.
Right, assuming good behavior.
Yeah, that timeline is entirely dependent on federal sentencing guidelines regarding good behavior credits.
So it's not a guaranteed release date. It's basically like a line of credit.
Yeah.
Throwing a punch is like defaulting on a mortgage. The BOP can just foreclose on his early release.
That is the perfect analogy. In the federal system, traditional parole doesn't exist anymore. Your only way out early is earning up to 54 days of good conduct time per year.
Okay, wow. So if he loses those.
Right. If you are found guilty in a prison disciplinary hearing, they have the absolute authority to strip those good behavior credits away from your ledger.
And a fistfight has to be a severe violation.
Oh, absolutely. He could be extending his stay in the federal pen by months simply because he couldn't ignore an insult.
That is just crazy. Hey, if you're loving these Hollywood twists and want to know how the mighty fall, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
We really do.
Because to truly grasp how surreal this moment in the SHU is, we have to rewind to the 2025 trial that shattered his empire. And honestly, that's not even the wildest part. Later in this deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking political twist nobody saw coming. But first, let's look at the trial itself, because the fallout spawned one of the most bizarre cultural moments in internet history.
Yeah, we have to understand the transition from that cultural power to institutional punishment. The 2025 trial in Lower Manhattan was just a massive watershed moment.
It really was. It was everywhere.
It all kicked off with that massive operation by Homeland Security, raiding Combs' properties in Los Angeles, New York, and Miami. And the sheer volume of what federal agents confiscated was staggering.
I remember the lists they released. It was insane.
Right. Illegally modified AR-15 rifles, a cache of narcotics including ketamine, ecstasy, and famously over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant.
Which, of course, became the detail that the internet just latched onto and absolutely refused to let go of.
Yeah, it completely took over.
But before we get to how the internet reacted, we really have to acknowledge how incredibly dark the actual trial was. The prosecution didn't just rely on the raids. They called 34 different witnesses over a 7-week period.
It was a very long trial.
Yeah, and the emotional anchor of the entire case was his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. She spent 4 grueling days on the stand, detailing a decade of intense, systematic abuse.
Her testimony was harrowing, and the prosecution meticulously corroborated her accounts. They played that horrific 2016 hotel surveillance video, the footage capturing Combs kicking and dragging Ventura down a hallway.
I think everyone saw that video. It was sickening.
It was. Yet, despite all of that overwhelming evidence, the verdict was split. The jury acquitted him of racketeering and sex trafficking, but found him guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution.
Right, and he was sentenced to 50 months. But what really blew my mind was the public reaction. The way Gen Z and the internet process dark news today is entirely through this lens of surreal humor and memes.
Oh, the digital reaction was unprecedented. The contrast between the gravity of the courtroom and the levity of the internet was really jarring.
Jarring doesn't even cover it. You had TikTok absolutely flooded with memes about Diddy parties, and the phrase "no Diddy" became a massive slang term overnight.
Yeah, totally replacing older slang.
Exactly. There are even Roblox games played by kids built entirely around the objective of trying to survive one of his parties. It's this incredibly dark coping mechanism.
It is a fascinating sociological phenomenon, how humor acts as a shield against the horrors of reality. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the public's reaction to the actual victims, particularly Cassie Ventura, was deeply polarizing.
Yeah, it really revealed an ugly side of things.
It reveals a glaring flaw in how society views victims. Despite her brave testimony, a vocal segment of the public accused her of a money grab.
Right, because of that 2023 civil suit she filed against him, which she settled for a reported $20 million.
Exactly. And this ties directly into what sociologists call the ideal victim theory.
I've heard that term, but how does it actually play out in people's minds?
Think about it like this. Subconsciously, society demands victims to be pure, passive, and entirely blameless. If a victim deviates from that rigid standard, if they fight back, if they settle a lawsuit for money, or if they have a complex past, our brains essentially short-circuit.
Wow. So because she wasn't a perfect victim...
Right. In Ventura's case, she admitted on the stand to using drugs like ecstasy, cocaine, and ketamine during her time with Combs. Society uses that complexity as an excuse to victim blame.
Because acknowledging that bad things happen to complex, normal people means bad things could happen to us. So we erode their credibility as a defense mechanism.
That is exactly it.
Wow. It's incredibly unfair. Now, this next part gets into some heavy political territory involving the pardon petition.
Yes, it does.
And just to be completely clear with you listening, we are maintaining absolute political neutrality here. We are not taking sides, we are not endorsing any political viewpoints, and we are strictly reporting the facts straight from the source material.
That boundary is crucial. Because while the internet makes Roblox memes, there is a very real, high-stakes political conversation happening about Diddy's future.
Right.
The pardon process is where celebrity culture directly collides with political power. During a press conference, President Donald Trump was asked point-blank if he would consider pardoning Sean Combs.
And what did he say?
He stated that he wasn't following the trial closely, but that he would, quote, certainly look at the facts.
Which immediately set off alarm bells in the hip-hop community, specifically for rapper 50 Cent.
Oh, yeah.
If you follow pop culture at all, you know 50 Cent has been arguably Diddy's biggest public troll for literally decades. The second 50 Cent heard Trump's comment, he took straight to Instagram and vowed to personally intervene to stop any potential pardon.
He really didn't waste any time.
No. He essentially announced he was going to lobby the president, writing, "I'm going to reach out so he knows how I feel about this guy."
It is genuinely wild to see a hip-hop beef spilling directly over into presidential politics.
It highlights the absolute surrealism of modern celebrity influence. But the backstory between Trump and Combs adds a critical layer to how this all works.
Right, because they used to be friends.
Yes, for years, the two were actually quite friendly, constantly overlapping in elite celebrity circles. But they had a very public falling out in 2020 when Combs endorsed Joe Biden and said white men like Trump, quote, need to be banished. Oh, man. So he completely torched a bridge with the exact person who now holds the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card.
It really is a masterclass in the unforeseen consequences of public feuds. A celebrity's past political endorsements and public attacks can drastically complicate their legal lifelines later on.
I can imagine.
Cohn's past comments, combined with figures like 50 Cent actively campaigning against him, create a formidable political headwind against any potential clemency.
It is incredible how every bridge you burn might just be the exact one you need to cross a few years down the line. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next in the world of pop culture.
Yeah, because synthesizing everything we've unpacked today, from the rigid regulations of the BOP Special Housing Unit to the massive viral fallout of the trial and these bizarre political machinations, it paints a vivid picture of a man entirely stripped of his former power.
It really is the ultimate fall from grace. And it brings us to a lingering question, something for you to mull over after this deep dive ends. For a man whose entire existence, his business empire, and his ego were built on controlling the narrative, throwing the biggest parties, and demanding the spotlight, what actually happens to his mind when he is locked in a soundproof, solitary room for 23 hours a day, where the only audience is himself?
It's a heavy thought.
Could the psychological toll of complete isolation be the one thing Puff Daddy just can't spin into a PR win?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.